What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video here of House Divided. With the NFL season winding down, the Super Bowl up ahead here in a week and a couple of days. Let's go over the conference championships here real quick, and then we're gonna go into something fun, a fun little video here, a tier list of the college teams based on the expectations they had this season, and we'll explain more a little. But we're gonna start doing more videos like that after the Super Bowl. But you guys can drop some more ideas if you guys think of cool ideas that we can do, and we'll consider them and maybe even do them. But going straight into the first championship game, Eagles, Commanders. What were your thoughts?
Boy, was I wrong about Washington, right? I had a lot of faith in them. I mean, it was clear that Jaden Daniels was not the best supported. I mean, he was able to overcome some of the things. They still had a 20-plus points, which is solid, but 55 points in the national conference final, you can't be doing that. Obviously, you have a defensive coach, so I think that's going to get better throughout the years. And obviously, this was 1 year removed from a year where they picked second. They brought in some veteran guys like Bobby Wagner that obviously helped, which is why they were able to make it. But the takeaway for them is just what a year for them. What a build. They catapulted right into the Super Bowl window with Daniels, and he's just going to keep developing, and they're going to be contenders going forward, which is not something any of us had on our radar for maybe a couple of years once they really built around Daniels, but that's not true anymore. It's this year and forward there in the window. For Philly, I mean, what a game. What a defense. They can do anything. They have the O-line to absolutely move you and maul you. Any short down situation, they're going to get it. Saquon can grind any run, and he can score a 80-yard touchdown in 2 seconds. If for some reason some defense somehow manages to stop him completely, which somehow I saw the two defenses that stopped him the most were Pittsburgh and Cleveland. So that's been impressive to see. If they somehow manage to stop him, you burn him the other way. You have Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and A.J. Brown. I do think this is a vastly superior Philadelphia team than the one who showed up in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and we saw how that game went down. They're stronger at the biggest liability that they were at 2 years ago, which is the corner, which is obviously how that game ended with the penalty. I think Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean have been able to do great things to reinforce that secondary. Obviously, the ascension of Blankenship over the couple of years. Obviously, they still have Big Play Slay there, who's been solid. So, I mean, just an incredible team. Definitely a stronger Philadelphia team that can actually take a bigger fight. And that was a great game for them. So I just think that Philadelphia's in a much better position to win this year than they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'll go straight into what everyone is worried about. Saquon not cashing his rush yards. I thought there was some Vegas interference there. He gets 66 yards in his first handoff. And then the rest of the game, dude couldn't get 130, 125 yards. Everyone and their mom was over Saquon. There was points in the game was still close. He wasn't in for like a whole drive. It happened multiple times. So I'm calling bullshit on Vegas there. Excuse my language.
Well, and then Shipley had the big run too.
Well, at that point,
that was at the end of the game. Kenny Pickett ended it up.
It was more like second quarter. They were up by 7 or up by 3 or whatever. And like Kenneth Gainwell, before he got hurt, was getting the whole drives. And I'm just like, what is going on? But I'm just pissed because I lost money. And I know a lot of my friends did too because we're like, it's Saquon against the Commanders. How can he not get it? But he didn't. But moving on, impressive win from the Eagles. They had a different game plan coming in. Obviously, they leaned on the run game, but they passed it way more often than they have those last two games, and it worked out. Goddard was getting a lot of underneath routes, breaking them for big gains, and A.J. Brown finally woke up in these playoffs. Obviously, I agree with what you said. They're a better team than they were coming into Super Bowl 2 years ago against Kansas City. They run the ball better, and their defense, I think, is slightly better. But it'll be a good Super Bowl. We'll preview that in a little bit. But on the Commander side, I mean, Jaden Daniels didn't have much help, like you said, but this guy's going to be best quarterback in the NFC for years to come, unless depending on the draft, and we'll see how the rookies do. But
I don't even think those QBs are generational. I mean, once we start getting into our draft group, I'll talk about it. But I think right now, just by like my analysis of the film, I'd have them somewhere in between QB 6, 7, and 8 would be the debate for them if they were in last year's class. Like, I don't think these guys are generational.
yeah, but I'm just saying you don't know how they might pan out.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, but
Obviously.
as of now, Daniels is the
Daniels was
the
QB2.
best quarterback in the NFC and the best future quarterback in the NFC for a while. So the Commanders are gonna be good for a while, which I hate. But quick question that I thought while you were talking: who do you think wins the division next year, Philly or Washington?
Well, there's that stat that says what?
No one's repeated the NFC East in like 14 years or something.
Yeah, I think it might be even longer. So because of that, if you see too much into the stats, it might be Washington. But I'm gonna take Philadelphia. I think they're able to retain a lot of this team for next year.
I think Philly will still be good, but I am going to take Washington. Maybe they win one more game. They have 4 losses and Philly has 5. I think it'll be close, but not just because of stat, also because I think Washington's playing a second place schedule other than a first place schedule. So I just I mean, I'd be surprised if Philly wins, but it'll be.
When I look at things like that, I look at I think Jalen hurts less to Philadelphia than Daniels, and just look at when Daniels got hurt with the rib injury. When he came back the next week, but he didn't come 100%. That's when they had their weakest part of the year. So if they have if Jaden Daniels can't Superman as much, it does hamper what.
It's hard to make predictions.
It's hard to make predictions like that. But I'd pick Philadelphia right now.
Yeah,
I think they're so strong enough, and I think they're in a position to retain. And their front office is bringing in. I mean, we saw the additions of Zach Bond, DeJean, Mitchell, and even Saquon. How influential and impactful they've been. They were definitely the best front office team the last 3-4 years.
Well, all the additions from this season are up for their respective awards, like Saquon MVP, OPI, Bond, DPOI. Their assistant coach even up for, I think, assistant coach of the year. So, just great pickups on the off season. Obviously, sucks to see them be good, but they're a great team. Moving on to the other side of the Super Bowl. Josh Allen falls short yet again against the Chiefs, 0-4 in the playoffs against the Chiefs. What are your thoughts on that game? Got a feel for the man.
Crazy to think this is only the second worst stretch of 4-year losses in a row for Buffalo, right? That would be the worst for anybody else. Actually, Minnesota would also be the second worst for Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen is always going to be that second fiddle. I mean, it's tough. Obviously, people are going to talk about the 4th down. I even think looking at the play, I think Kincaid might have gotten it on the 3rd and 1. If you look, and I do think he got the 4th, but close call, cameras. It's whatever. But the one I do think was an egregious call was the completion to Worthy when both of them had it.
Yeah.
That was bad. Other than that, I mean, biggest takeaway, Mahomes magic, as it does every year. They're on their way to history, the three-peat. I mean, we've said it all year. It's 14, 15 single-score games in a row now for Kansas City, where they're 15-0. This is how they've been winning all year. This is normally unsustainable kind of winning, but they've been able to make it so sustainable that I think this is just their way and the way their team operates with that very good defense. Spagnuolo, one of the best DCs in the game. And when you have Mahomes and Reed on the other side, I don't care who the offensive line is, who the receivers are, something's going to happen.
Yeah, I think very close game like those games always are. I do like the 4th down call. Obviously, just unfortunate they didn't get it. The blitz came from an unexpected side, so you can't.
Are you talking about the Kincaid drop or the 4th down where they stopped them on the?
I'm talking about the drop, the 4th down where they basically lost the game.
Okay.
Because the Chiefs got the ball back and then they ran out the clock.
Yeah.
But yeah, great. I mean, right call putting the ball in Josh Allen's hands, but unfortunate result. The Chiefs, Travis Kelce had a quiet game for his standards. But Mahomes finding Worthy, Juju, everyone else, because Travis Kelce was kind of getting double teamed most of the game, so he had to lean on his receivers, which are really good receivers, to be fair. But game on the line, there's no one else I would rather have with the ball than Patrick Mahomes. So at the end of the day, it's just Patrick Mahomes magic and Andy Reid and Spagnuolo just doing what they do best and just taking out Josh Allen. But I saw an interesting TikTok the other day that's saying, like, if Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes switched roles, how many Super Bowls would each of them make it to, and how many would each of them win? And I'm just curious. I have an answer, but I'm curious what you would think.
I think the Chiefs would only have 2 right now. I don't think anything would have changed except the fact that Josh Allen's development would have he was drafted a year later, so he would have taken a year later, and that would have set him up for the year that Kansas City lost to Tampa. I still think with Josh Allen they could have gotten there to they have lost to Tampa. Then I still think that next year that's still Burrow's year to lose to the Rams. And I do think he's fully capable of, by the time they played Philadelphia and San Francisco, to have won those games and then to be in this one. I do think that's how it would have gone down. And because of that, I think Mahomes' Bills would still be at 0. But I do think that that first year, when Kansas City beat San Francisco the first time, who did they beat? That was against the Bills, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think Mahomes would have been more ready and better that year. So I think Mahomes would have that one with the Bills.
Yeah, I think I'll go with 4 Super Bowl appearances and 2 Super Bowls for Josh Allen and the Chiefs. And I think Mahomes gets 1 in there. So I'd go with 2 Super Bowl appearances and 1 Super Bowl win. But that's just
assuming they developed the same.
Yeah. It's just like switching teams and then exact situations and stuff. So I would go with that. It's kind of crazy. It's just a little fun to think about, but I just wanted to bring that because I saw a TikTok.
Yeah. So I do think it does take away 1 from Kansas, and it does give it to Buffalo, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I'll give that. But let's go straight into this tier list. I'll share my screen. Here we go. We're not going to do all the teams on here. We're just going to do the big power fours and maybe some non-power fours that stood out and we know about. Let's go straight into it. We have our tiers are surpassed expectations. We have met. We have semi-met, so like they met them, but not to the extent you would want. You have underachieved and then disappointing. Let's start with Miami. I want to put Miami in semi-met. What are your thoughts?
I'm okay with that because I'll say their expectations before the year started, they met those. But I think after week 1, week 2, their expectations were high and they did not meet those.
Yeah, I think everyone saw Miami as a playoff, maybe a playoff hopeful, and I think they were a playoff hopeful, like the 13 or 14 seed.
Yeah.
So 2 losses. Good.
After week 1, 2, because Clemson lost early, I think everybody was a surefire Miami ACC. That was the expectation. That didn't happen. So that's why I think semi-met is the condition for them.
Yeah. Straight to Oregon. What are you thinking about this one? This one's a little tricky.
I'll say this of all the elite contenders that we were looking at for the national championship. The national championship is the only way to say they truly met expectations. But I feel like I'm going to go semi-met because they were the 1 seed all year, but they didn't make the quarterfinals, which was the 4 playoff that we like, the 14 playoff of old times, which would be, I feel like, an official met.
I agree. I think like they had expectations to be maybe in the semifinals and the national championship and win the whole thing. But they also, in their first year, won the Big Ten. So I think they did meet those expectations. Yeah. So I think semi-met is pretty good for them here. Mm-hmm. All right. Bama. I'm going to go with underachieved here for Bama.
I'm going to go with disappointing. For me,
Really?
They were, yeah. I mean, it's just the games they lost more than you can't lose to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
You lost to the worst Michigan team in a million years.
Yeah. My thing to me is like new head coach, new
That's the only thing they have.
a lot of turnover on the team. I
Yeah.
think like, obviously their expectations was to make the playoffs. I don't think they had expectations to win the whole thing, but it is Alabama, so
I had them as a 3-loss team,
yeah.
and they
So
finished a 4-loss.
under,
So I'm okay with underachieved, but
I think
yeah.
underachieved considering.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Okay. And here, Ohio State. This is
This is a tricky one.
we would go surpass, but I'm gonna go with Met.
I'm gonna go with Met because 2 losses is tough, including to one to Michigan, which I don't remember which one of their coaches was, but one of their coaches says winning a national championship means nothing if you don't beat Michigan. So I just think because of that, you didn't beat your rival. That has to be Met, even if.
But also, like, even if they did beat Michigan, their expectation was to win the whole thing, so they met their expectation.
Yeah, maybe if they'd gone undefeated and won it all, that could have been surpassed, but they didn't.
Yeah. This one, to me, is really easy. Arizona, disappointing.
Disappointing.
I think we all had them as contenders for the Big 12, and they just fell apart had good players, Fida, McMillan, and just won 3 to 4 games, I forget. But, yeah, disappointing to me.
Yeah. The Bulldogs, I think they underachieved. Didn't make it to the semis. They were the national championship favorites.
Yeah.
They were reloaded. Beck was coming back. He was a Heisman favorite. Now he's a transfer. Just an underachieving season. They still made the playoffs, so I wouldn't put them at disappointing. They were still the SEC champions, but they underachieved.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think here we have our first surpass here.
Yeah.
Obviously, no one coming into the season had them making the playoffs, so they surpassed all that. Their expectations probably set at like 5 to 6 wins. So the fact they were in the playoffs is surpassing their expectations here. Moving on, the Hogs. This one's a little tricky. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it just goes to, I think there was varying expectations. Some people had them as the sleepers in the SEC. I personally did not. To me, they were at the level I thought they would be at the beginning of the season. They weren't great, which is what I was expecting from them. So
I'm going to go with either semi-met or underachieved. I don't think they were disappointed. I think they were around an average team in the SEC, which is what I expected from them. They did have a big win against Tennessee, so that's why I'm leaning more towards semi-met here.
Yeah, I'm okay with semi-met and claiming the Tennessee win as one of the big factors for it.
Yeah. Here, moving on to another mediocre SEC team, Auburn. This one's a little tricky too. We didn't expect great things. They had big wins against us, obviously, and that's about it. I might go underachieved here. I know like there wasn't big expectations, but I thought they would be a little more competitive in the SEC.
Yeah, they just fell flat other than that A&M game. I'm okay with underachieved.
Yeah. I think here we have another surpass.
100%. There's no need to even talk about it. Yeah. From projected last place in the Big 12 to the college playoff.
Moving on to Baylor. I think underachieved.
I'd be willing to go disappointing, but I'm okay with underachieved.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I say underachieved is we didn't expect great things from them. But
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
They still were bad. Boise State here. I'll go. You're going with surpass? I
just didn't think they'd have a Heisman candidate and actually think like we actually all thought they were like a really good team. They had a close game against Oregon.
Mm-hmm. So
just because I did expect them to be the power or group of 5 team, but
yeah, I'll go surpass. It was either that or Met. Yeah. So I'm not disappointed in surpass. Making the playoffs is impressive. BYU, I think I'll go surpassed as well.
Yeah.
I think no one expected them to be one of the leading contenders most of the season for the Big 12. So.
Yeah, for the Buffaloes, I'm going to go with they met their expectations. I expected them to be fighting for the Big 12. I didn't expect them to win it, and I feel like that's what they did.
Yeah. Fought most of the season, had some big wins. Moving on to Cal, I'm going to go disappointing. Obviously, they didn't have a lot of expectations, but just a terrible season from Cal.
Cincinnati Bearcats, a team I thought was disappointing. I thought
I agree.
I think they could have done a lot better, and they did not.
Yeah, I completely. I go Clemson. I'll go semi-Met. This one's a little tricky. We all kind of expected them to win the conference. Then with
Which
they
they did.
do that, but they also had a loss against Louisville, which we didn't expect, and just 3 losses where we didn't really see them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I was gonna agree. Say semi-Met. My explanation is quite similar.
Yeah. Moving on to Duke. After losing their head coach to the Aggies, what are your thoughts here on Duke?
They started the year a lot more solid than they ended. If we'd gone off the first couple of weeks, I would have said Met, but I'm going to finish off with semi-Met. They were, solid enough in the ACC, which is as much as I can ask for them.
I completely agree on not much to add on here, but here I wish there was a tier way below.
We should have just made a tier that's called Florida State.
Yeah, but this is the bottom of the disappointed team coming in, being snubbed from last year, to saying, okay, we can get it this year. A lot of transfers coming in, and just wow, since the first 2 weeks, just underwhelming, disappointing, absolutely utter trash.
Yeah.
Not much more to say.
There's not much more to say.
Yeah, I'll make sure to keep them in last of the tier.
Yeah, put them in front.
All right, Florida. I'm gonna go with honestly Met.
They started extremely disappointing, even with the low expectations. But the way they were able to turn some games around with Lagway, they got back to the not great team that it has moments. So I'm okay with Met or semi-Met,
especially with that schedule coming out with some wins.
Most brutal schedule, yeah.
Beating the LSU. They were on pace probably to beat Georgia.
Before Lagway went down.
Obviously, we can't factor in that too much, but I think given their schedule and some of the wins they had, I think Met is pretty good. Illinois.
Georgia Tech's in the ACC, right?
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. I thought you skipped.
I'm gonna go Georgia Tech surpassed here.
Surpassed?
Or you think Met?
I think Met's decent enough.
Okay. I think I got a little happy with the
Illinois. I will say surpassed expectations for me.
Yeah, especially at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I'll go Met.
For me, they surpassed. I didn't think they would be able to contend in the Big 12 championship like they did. Didn't think they'd even have a chance to the playoff, and they were 1 game away.
Yeah, I thought they would compete, but I mean, maybe I was in the minority there, but maybe. I'll go with surpassed. Okay. Moving on to Iowa here.
Underachieved.
Yeah, didn't see much of their games, but yeah, usually they're in that conversation for the Big Ten, even though they don't push, even though they made a championship that year. But yeah, we're really around the conversation this year. Kansas
State, a lot like Colorado Buffaloes for me.
Yeah, actually, Kansas State.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they were 1 game away again from the championship game. I mean, I'll
go with semi-Met. Because to me, like, I had them in the championship game. So
you did have them higher than me when it came to them.
I thought they didn't make it makes it a little.
I thought they were a year away from being true playoff contenders. I thought they'd be top 4 in the the Big 12, and they were top 4. So
yeah, I'll go with semi because I think they should have been in the championship game and they didn't. They were close, but that's why I'll go with semi-Met because it was a tough conference and a lot of teams that were around the same losses. Moving on to Kansas.
Disappointing.
Yeah. Let me put them ahead of Florida State. Actually, Arizona should go right next to Florida State right here. Obviously started off terrible at the end, had big upset wins, but it's just we all expected Kansas to contend for the championship game.
For the 12, and they were not close.
Yeah, they were not close. Moving right on to Louisville here. I'll go with honestly Matt.
Yeah, I'd go Met or semi-Met. The game against Clemson definitely helps for the Met argument.
Yeah, I think we all expect them to be a good, solid team in the conference, and that's what they were, being a tough out for some teams. So I think Met would be good. Here to the Tigers.
Underachieved.
Yeah,
It's plain as that.
Yeah, that loss against USC, considering how the rest of the season for them went, not the best. Same loss to us, I guess, tough environment, but still lost really bad to Alabama at home, lost to Florida. Some losses that should be winnable for LSU, and they just couldn't get any of them this year. Moving right on to the Maryland Terrapins.
Disappointing.
Yeah, I agree.
They were not good at all, but I thought they would, and their expectations weren't that high, but I thought they would be way better than
that. Yeah. Michigan State, I'm going to go maybe underachieving.
Yeah, I thought they'd be a little better with the new regime coming in.
Yeah.
With Tiles coming in, but they were still Michigan State.
Yeah. Michigan, I'm going to go with.
This is an interesting one because it screams underachieved, but they beat Ohio State, which definitely.
And they did lose a lot of people in their head coach.
Yeah.
So I think semi-met, giving the.
Yeah, I didn't have him in playoff consideration. Like,
no, I didn't either, but I expected them to be.
I did expect a regression.
Yeah. But yeah, I think semi-met, it's good. They accomplished their goal of beating Ohio State. Had some bad losses, but considering they lost almost their
if they'd gone say 8-5 and they'd beat like Indiana, who was good, instead of Ohio State, I'd be a lot more comfortable with underachieved. But having them have beat Ohio State, I think it does get on that bump.
Yeah. Minnesota here, I'll be honest, don't know much about them, but I know they weren't the best team. I don't know what I expected for them this season, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I didn't have much expectations in for the Golden Gophers. They weren't great. Exactly. I don't remember what their exact spot in the rankings was.
Probably in the middle. I'll go with semi-met, I guess, because we didn't have much expectations and they didn't do much. So, moving right on to Missouri. This one's tricky as well. I'm gonna go with, I think, semi-met as well.
Yeah, I'd say Missouri underachieved in my opinion, but
I could see an argument for that because we all expected them, given their schedule, to
be in the bubble at least.
Be in the bubble, and they just weren't, and had some ugly games. They were not the best team looks-wise, so I'm with the underachieved here. Mississippi State, I think we all expect them to be bad, but as bad as they were
bad. Yeah, I don't.
Disappointing.
I think disappointing is fair. They were the worst team in the SEC in my opinion. Yeah. And they were a different kind of worse.
Yeah, they were way worse than what we expected. Moving right on, Nebraska here with Dylan Raiola. Started off hot. I think I might go semi-met here.
I'm gonna go semi-met. I had higher expectations than most people about the Cornhuskers, and I do feel like they won enough games to meet the standards I set for them.
Yes, I completely agree. I lost my track. We are on NC State here, I think. Either disappointing.
Disappointing year, really. I thought they'd be better than they were. They just got destroyed in some big games. I thought they'd be able to
got embarrassed.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was star wide receiver coming to the Aggies. Great pickup for us, but yeah, a little underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina, obviously they had their quarterback Max Johnson go down early in the year.
I'd go underachieved. I'm going to give him a benefit of Max Johnson going down, killing their expectations.
Yeah, I think their expectations are going to be a little higher next year. Nothing too crazy.
Bill Belichick,
I'm going to go with Notre Dame here. I'm going to go surpassed.
I'm going to go surpassed. I think they'd qualify for the playoff based on their schedule. If they beat A&M, I thought they were in. They did beat A&M. They got in, but I thought they were first or second round exits. Yeah. Kudos to them for making it the national championship and only losing by 11, which is not than I would have guessed for them.
Here, Oklahoma State. No, yeah, I completely agree with all that. And yeah, we all expect them to make the playoffs, but not the championship. Here for Oklahoma State, I'm gonna go with disappointing as well. We had
Yeah, I agree. I mean, another team, we've mentioned a couple of Big 12 favorites in August that just finished towards the bottom.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with OU underachieved.
OU underachieved. I agree.
I
I
think
didn't have the
we
highest
didn't expect them to be that great, but I mean they did win. They did beat Alabama, but still very underwhelming season for OU standards.
This might be. I think they're a disappointing team. I think this was their year. I think they expected to go far for Ole Miss, and I think they did not get close.
No, I agree. Not as I'll go here. Wait, Florida State still has to be. Okay, moving right on along here to Penn State. I'm gonna go with Met.
I'm gonna go with Met expectations as well.
Yeah. You could say they surpassed it by making the championship because we all thought it was Ohio State and Oregon, but I think it was more caused by an Ohio State slip.
Yeah, it was more caused by situations outside of there. They, as they do every year, won every game except the big one. They got to their three big games called Ohio State in the regular season, Oregon in the Big Ten championship, and SMU and Boise State weren't the big games in the playoffs. They were heavy favorites in every game, and then they faced Notre Dame in their third big game, and they went 0-3. So
yeah, I completely agree. Here, moving on to Pitt. Don't know much about them, but I think I did have some decent expectations. Kind of like be a little maybe.
Yeah, started good, but then they fell a lot.
Yeah, might go underachieved here. Do you agree? Or
yeah, I like that.
Okay, here with Purdue, this one's a tricky one. I think I might just go Met because we all expect them to be really bad.
Yeah,
but they were like
we had babblingly, like unbelievably low expectations for them going into the year.
I'll go semi-Met because I don't feel good putting them at Met because they were so bad. Rutgers here. I think I'll go with semi-Met as well. They were a competitive team. Had some good games. No one expected anything crazy from them. So
yeah, I'm okay with that answer.
Okay, moving on here.
Oh boy,
USC.
A very disappointing year.
Yes, I'm gonna agree with that. Coming off, Caleb still had a great backup quarterback in Miller Moss. Yeah, just disappointed.
Defense like it was getting better week one. That did not come to fruition.
Yeah, big win against LSU, but besides that, just nothing going for them, to be honest.
Well, they did beat the Aggies.
Yeah, but I don't really factor bowl games a lot. But yeah, that's fair. Moving on here to SMU, I'm gonna go surpassed here. No one thought they would make the playoffs, and
Absolutely surpassed.
They were, especially in their first year in a new conference, making the championship. Absolutely surpassed their expectations. South Carolina, I want to hear your thoughts first. Yeah,
I had them well below teams like Missouri, Ole Miss. Like they were a tier below those teams.
Yeah.
And they completely surpassed those teams in a year where there was a rebuilding year. Was Sellers gonna get going first year, and they were really, really good. Beamer has really just started to build a good system. So completely surpassed their expectations.
Yeah, completely agree. Stanford here. No one expected them to be great either, so that's why I'm leaning towards semi-Met because they weren't a great team.
Yeah, that's fine by me. They weren't a great team, but I wasn't expecting them to be at all. Tough year in the for them.
Yeah, I agree. Here for Syracuse, they were kind of a little noisy at the beginning, kind of slowed down, but I think I might go semi-Met as well.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Kyle McCord had some good games. So that's
we're considered for the conference, but then obviously flamed out. Here, moving on to my Aggies. I'll be honest, I'm gonna go with underachieved here. Closer to the semi-met, but I'm going to put us in underachieved, I think. Coming into the season, we didn't expect to make the playoffs or be in maybe in the little outskirts of the conference championship talk. Obviously, we were in it for the most part, but some of the games we lost, just not expecting to lose those. Obviously, a little slightly underachieving, so I'm going to throw those in there. Obviously, new head coach. We lost a lot of people to transfer, so you can say like our expectation was to be like around 8-4, but just considering some of the games that I thought we should win, just didn't get it done. So I'm gonna go and underachieve.
Yeah, I agree. Just disappointing year for them, but the expectations weren't as high to where they should be, and disappointing.
Yeah.
The disappointing part, I'd put Connor Wegman separately and put him in disappointing.
Oh well, yeah, obviously. TCU here. I'm gonna go with underachieved as well.
Yeah, I agree.
I think no one had like crazy Big 12 aspirations for them, but we thought they would be a decent team, and they were just not very good. Here, Tennessee.
Met expectations, in my opinion.
I agree.
I expected them to be in the playoffs. I expected them to lose one of the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. I did not expect them to win the SEC. They did everything that I expected from them.
Yeah, I completely agree. Tech. I think I'm either between semi-met or met here. We all expected them to be one of the tough outs in the Big 12, and I think that they were exactly that.
I want to call out for Texas Tech next year to watch them for disappointing watch, because they're going to have a lot of expectations. They're going to be Big 12 favorites, but the way they fight in that conference, how many teams I think can be up there, I think Tech's one to look out for next year. I mean, I do think they could win it, but I do think they're one to look out for disappointing for next year's.
I agree. Here now for your team, I'll let you take the lead on this one.
This is a weird one because they could go from underachieved if you say their expectation was the national championship, but they opened up as the 4 seed. They opened up as 4th best odds to win the national championship. They remade it back to the semifinals as they'd done a year before. To me, I was a hopeful fan. I was biased and expected a national championship, but Vegas odds say they were 4, and they did finish top 4. For me, I'd put them in semi-met just because of that balance. What do you think?
I'll be honest. I'll go with Met.
Okay.
I think everyone expected them to be contenders for the championship. Obviously, a lot of people thought they would win. They were close. They played Ohio State probably the closest the whole game. So I'm gonna go with Met. Obviously, reaching the championship in a conference like the SEC in the first year is a very hard task, and you guys did that. So I think you guys met. Obviously, a tough loss against Georgia at home. You don't like to lose those at home, but still lost to some great teams and took care of business with everyone else. So I think Met is more accurate for y'all here.
Okay, I agree with that. I had a serious debate over Met and semi-Met. Even underachieved. Underachieved was like the third wheel. It was really between Met and semi-Met. But
yeah. Moving on here to UCF. I'm gonna go with underachieved here for the Knights.
Yeah, I like that answer as well.
I think we all expect them to be not the top contenders, but maybe that second tier of contenders in the Big 12, and they just weren't it. KJ Jefferson had a disappointing season. I'm just with that. UCLA, this one's a little tricky.
UCLA, I didn't have any expectations for them.
I didn't either, but they were also really bad.
Yeah.
I think semi-met is a good throw in there for UCLA.
Okay.
Moving on here to Houston, also a bad team. No one had a lot of expectations for. I'm gonna throw them on semi-met.
All right, I'd go ahead and put Kentucky there as well. I see they're next.
Yeah. I think teams that didn't have much expectations and they were exactly what we thought. Maybe sometimes a little worse. That's why we're putting them in semi-met. But
yeah,
much to talk about there.
For Utah, I said they underachieved.
Disappointing.
What?
I'm gonna say disappointing.
All right.
I think they were the top 2 contenders and they just weren't even in contention almost ever. So
Yeah, but I chalk it up to Cam Rising getting hurt.
Okay, I could see that. I like underachieved.
Yeah.
Big disappointing. Takes something crazy. Okay, Bandy. Bandy, I'm gonna go surpass here.
I'm gonna go surpass as well. I thought they were most consensus, but they were Mississippi State tier in the SEC. They were way better than that.
Yeah, they were tough outs for a lot of teams. Obviously, beat Alabama. Yeah,
Played Texas close.
they were one of the good teams in the SEC. Not great, but good. So usually they're the worst one. So I think they surpassed their expectations here. Moving on to Virginia Tech.
Disappointing year.
Yeah. What the? There we go.
I thought they had I didn't think they were like a true tier of contenders, but I thought they were a tier 2 ACC team. They weren't. So because of that, they're underachieving.
I agree. What about Virginia? Excuse me, not West Virginia. That one's coming up.
Virginia.
I might go with underachieved.
Yeah, I was thinking similar. Not
that we expected anything crazy. They just weren't a good team at all, and I expected them to be decent at least. So
I'm gonna agree with that.
Wake Forest. I kind of want to go with underachieved as well.
Yeah, I can see the argument for that. I'm okay with that. They weren't great, but my expectations for them were a little higher than what they did.
Exactly. Moving on here to Washington.
This is a tough one because of how great they were, but how much they lost for in 1 year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go here semi-met.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. They beat Michigan, which is one of their bigger games. They got beat by Oregon.
Yeah, I think losing all they lost, their coach, quarterback, receivers, everything. Going into a new, bigger conference. We all them to be like average, and that's what they were. So I think semi-met was pretty good. Moving on here to West Virginia.
West Virginia, I thought they would be better than they were. They were very disappointing, in my opinion.
I agree. I thought they had some good games here and there, but they were disappointing overall. Expected them to be in that tier 2 of competing, and they were for a little bit, but not in the way we thought. Last one here, Wisconsin.
Disappointing.
Yeah. We always expect Wisconsin to be a top 25 team in the later end, and they just weren't close to that.
Not even close. Bottom 4 in the Big Ten. So,
all right, here we go. Here's our tiers of the.
I think we missed Northwestern's in the.
My bad. Northwestern. I don't even know what to do with this one. They're pretty bad.
And they were pretty bad. I think they were bottom 3 in the Big Ten, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I didn't expect it. So I might just go semi-met.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Here's our final tier list of expectations and how those teams performed based on the expectations we had.
We got to fix Florida State here.
Oh, sorry. My bad. There you go. Florida State should have its own tier, 5 tiers below. And Indiana is the most, and Arizona State. Those two are the ones that surpass the most. But yeah, here's our tiers. Let us know if you disagree with anything. But yeah, we're going to be doing more videos like this. Like I said, give us more ideas in the comments, and we'll consider them and maybe even do them. So thank you for watching and enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you again when we talk about the Super Bowl.